God Almighty, I hope you'll find me praising your name no matter what comes. I can't count the times you should catch me up like you do. I get amnesia, I forget that you keep coming around. Good God Almighty, I hope you'll find me praising your name no matter what comes. 'Cause I know where I'd be without your mercy. So I keep praising your name at the top of my lungs. Is he good? He is good. He's God. He's God. He is good God Almighty. Savior of his own mercy never stops. Why should I listen to be somebody about you? Like the sun in the morning, I know you're gonna be there every day. Good God Almighty, I hope you'll find me praising your name no matter what comes. 'Cause I know where I'd be without your mercy. So I keep praising your name at the top of my lungs. Praise him in the morning, praise him in the noontime, praise him when the sun goes down. Praise him in the morning, praise him in the noontime, praise him when the sun goes down. Praise him in the morning, praise him in the noontime, praise him when the sun goes down. Praise him in the morning, praise him in the noontime, praise him when the sun goes down. Good God Almighty, I hope you'll find me praising your name no matter what comes. 'Cause I know where I'd be without your mercy. So I keep praising your name at the top of my lungs. Tell me, is he good? He is good. Is he God? He is God. He is good God Almighty. Tell me, is he good? He is good. Is he God? He is God. He is good God Almighty. Tell me, is he good? He is good. He's God. He is God. He is good God Almighty. Praise him in the morning. Praise him in the morning. Praise him in the noontime. Praise him when the sun goes down. Praise him in the morning. Praise him in the noontime. Praise him when the sun goes down. Jesus in the morning, Jesus in the noontime, Jesus when the sun goes down. Jesus in the morning, Jesus in the noontime, Jesus when the sun goes down. in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Never stop working. Never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Never stop working. Never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Never stop working. Never stop. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. That is who you are. 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 That is who you are.
As they get ready to sing the next song, we're happy that David's here. We're grateful for his big part.
Count on one thing, the same God that never failed will not fail me now. You won't fail me now. In the waiting, the same God who's never late, He's working all things out. Working all things out. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will. There's no name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy. All my days, oh yes, I will. For all my days, oh yes, I will.
Thank you, Lord.
There is love that came for us, humble to sinner's cross, broke my shame and sinfulness, rose again victorious. Faithfulness that can deny through the storm, through the fire. There is truth that sets me free. Jesus Christ, who has me. You are stronger. You are stronger. Sin is broken. You have saved me. It is written. Christ is risen. Jesus, you are Lord alone. No beginning, no end. You're my hope and my defense. You came to seek and save the lost. You paid it all upon the cross. You are stronger. You are stronger. Sin is broken. You have saved me. It is written, Christ is risen. Jesus, you are Lord alone. You are stronger. You are stronger. You are stronger. Sin is broken. You have saved me. It is written, Christ is risen. Jesus, you are Lord alone. So let your name be lifted higher, be lifted higher, be lifted higher. So let your name be lifted higher, be lifted higher, be lifted higher. So let your name be lifted higher, be lifted higher, be lifted higher. So let your name be lifted higher, be lifted higher, be lifted higher. You are stronger, you are stronger. Sin is broken. You have saved me. It is written, Christ is risen. Jesus, you are Lord alone. You are stronger. You are stronger. Sin is broken.
few things. We may get around to David yet.
Well, I got to tell all of you people that don't believe in miracles, you're witnessing one right now.
Amen.
It's, I never thought in my life. Let me explain something first. Kevin and I had what you might call a tenuous relationship for many years because I was not what you call. I was more daddy dearest than I was a father. I wasn't around. I was out drinking, partying. I wasn't mean. I just wasn't there. And I can't. You know, when you talk about being proud of your kids, I can't explain how proud I am of that man. Because what he did on his own. I'm proud of all of his accomplishments, but I'm more proud of his relationship with Jesus Christ. I mean, when he was 17 years old, I think 17 or 18, wasn't it? Yeah, somewhere. We were sitting in East Glacier at the Dairy Queen on a bench talking about the Lord. And it took us a long time to establish a relationship that we have now. It took us years. And I want to tell you something. What this guy's done in his life is all of this, everything we've done in our lives combined, probably take about a week in his life. He's done things that none of us can even imagine. I mean, literally can't imagine. And I wanted to introduce one of my favoriteest people in the whole world, my young son, Kevin.
Have a seat, Kevin.
Woo! What do you say after that? Let's go to the buffet.
Yeah, but we had talked about Kevin coming to town, Pat and I, when we were out in Belt, and a lot about Kevin. I didn't ask him because I don't know that I should on things, and he's, I'm sure, very adept at not talking about things he shouldn't talk about or doesn't choose to. I know he's been around the world in just about every place except Russia and India. That much I found out, and he's done many things, but is many things. He's here this morning not because of all the things he's done or the toughness of those things, but the primary reason he's here is to encourage you in your faith, your walk in Christ, and the fact that through Christ we can do all things. Who strengthens us? That's the primary reason he's here. And we talked a little bit, kind of a free morning to share. I know he's going to share his testimony. That's the heartbeat that's within him. We've been talking back and forth on the many things that Kevin has done. A survivor trainer, trains, and I'll be able to piece it together in one form or another. Air pilots who fly over dangerous territory. Forgive me if I short sheet this, what I'm supposed to say, but there's a chance that they may not come back. And so they need to survive, and this man teaches them how to survive. The tactics that he teaches them to do would kill me. I mean, he wouldn't teach me to survive, I would die on the spot. But I want for all of us this morning to receive from the Lord through Kevin the fact that Christ is that strength which strengthens us to go through. He talked about, and we were dialoguing back and forth about the up and down of both of our lives. He talked about it's a long race, and I remember that. So I got kind of hung on to that the last couple of days, thinking about that in your life, my life. We're focused on this section of the race, but it's a long race, and it's an amazing race. Would you welcome again warmly Kevin Wagner.
All right, so we get this started right. Let me just do a quick prayer, because if it's not about the Lord, then it's not worth doing. Dear Father, we love you and we praise you. That one heart's affected today. One heart, Lord. Prayer warriors pray, and Lord, just speak through me. And if you can't speak through me, speak in spite of me. And I love you, and thanks for being with me. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so I'm glad you moved the stand. because I dieted yesterday. I was kind of worried you guys would be able to see me behind it. In teaching survival, first of all, I got to say this. I ran all over Montana. And when I was running all over Montana, I was not a Christian. So somewhere during this story, you may recall that I owe you money or something, or I stole something from you, or broke your car, or maybe just took your car. If that happened, get with me afterwards at the buffet, and in between bites, I'll make amends. I've gone all over the planet teaching survival. When we teach survival, what we're saying to the air crew members to return early in a good physical and mental condition, to maintain honor, to stay alive, to get out of there. And as Christians, that's all we're trying to do, right? Return.
Yes.
We're just trying to get home. And what the air crew member is such an expert. If you've ever flown in a jet before, the speed at which they travel, the thoughts that have to go through their mind instantaneously, what they have to do. And they're experts inside the cockpit. My job was from the ah crap moment. It's like both wings have fallen off. Ah crap. And so what happens now? What do we do now? Well, eject, and so I would teach them how to eject out of the plane. I taught for the U-2 and the SR-71. I've had a chance to fly at over 75,000 feet, see the curvature of the earth, and they put a pin in my ejection seat so I wouldn't try it out just to see what it was like. And so, yeah, that's what they thought. And, but in teaching, it's weird today. If I was to teach you about survival, I could stand up here for days. Maintain life, maintain honor, get out. There's 100% edible items. If you find cattail, you got food. If you dig down to the bare earth generates 18 degrees of heat. You take 8 to 12 or 12 to 18 inches of snow, pile over the top of that in a small little hole, put your body in there, your body heat will warm it up 45 degrees. So if you didn't learn anything else at church today, you did learn that I can adjust the temperature in a freezing cold environment by 63 degrees if I stop, think, and do the right things.
Yes.
And what's cool about the military is like the more critical it is, we get checklists. Canopy, visor, mask, seat kit, LPUs, four-line modification, steer to wind, prepare to land. Because we would teach them parachuting. And if we didn't, we would be doing them a disservice. Because your first parachute jump, you should have some sort of idea. How many would probably be scared if they took their first jump? Yeah. They'd have to throw you out of the plane. Some of you are like, it ain't happening. I'm praying God's going to put the wings back on. That's faith. That's some serious faith. But we would teach them, and because they're jumping a very small parachute, and it's brown and orange and white, and people wonder why it's 4 different colors and green. Well, so that they can use that parachute for survival. Right? So they could signal or they could hide. But we have checklists for everything, and it's critical. And in Philippians 4, you have a checklist. It tells you what to do. It tells you what to think. And it tells you what the power source is. Through Christ who strengthens me. That's where my power. See, if you really look at my Christian walk, anybody ever play musical chairs? Anybody ever take it to the next level where just a hair violent? You're going to get that chair because the free thing was a pie. I mean, look at Chunky Boy. If there's a pie on the line, you're in trouble, right? But that's kind of what my walk with God looks like on a day-to-day basis. And no matter how good I did it yesterday, I had to start off today. Lord, please make me useful today. Free me of the burden of myself. I mean, you may not be thinking a lot about me, but I think a lot about me. And I'm consumed. When I'm in a conversation with you, am I thinking of you or am I thinking of me? And that's the difference between the power of Christ. If I'm walking in the power of Christ, how can I meet your need? How can I be there for you? And how's that relationship look? And like if I was going to teach about survival, there's so many things I could say. But I've been asked to also talk about me. And that's not nearly as easy. I could talk about survival all day. Talking about me, two things are going to happen today. I almost guarantee. One, I could get emotional. I had a tough time listening to my dad say that, you know. Honor thy father and thy mother, and I want my dad to be proud of me, you know. And so I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about survival. I'm talking about my walk with the Lord. And I might get emotional because this relationship with God, sometimes it's emotional.
Yes, amen.
You know, it isn't all nice and neat, and we've worked out the ledger and the assets and the liabilities, and it's all nice and clean. Sometimes it's just crying out, God, I can't do it anymore.
Yes.
You know, the other thing that will happen, probably, I'm getting senile. Yes, I'm taking it after my dad. I hate it whenever he gets a new fungus or new something. It's like, because everything he gets, it comes down to me too. It's like, but I'm going to get really excited about a story that I'm telling. And I'm going to be all in that story. And I'm going to be going and going. And then all of a sudden you're going to see this look on my face. I have no idea what I was talking about. That's going to happen because I didn't write out a script. I thought about it. I know as an instructor, I've taught, I'm a teacher in school. I do my lesson plans for the whole year. I usually write out everything, but I didn't want to talk from a piece of paper today. I had no idea where God's going to take this. I have no idea why you even asked me. I don't get up in churches and talk. It's like, honestly, my biggest prayer over the last 3 days, please don't swear. Please. It's going to be on tape. They're going to know. See, what you see before you is not a perfect person. You know, that musical chairs, that's me and God switching places. You know, I want to keep getting on the seat. I want to be on the seat and throne of my life. Why do I want to be on it? Because I'm scared. I'm afraid. I'm afraid, and I think I know better than God. Honestly, that's what I'm saying. I know better than you, Lord. I got this. I can run this. And everything about my training says I can take care of it. I mean, that's what survival training is. I was teaching 5,000 people a year to come through the school, and we would teach them Arctic, desert, jungle survival, open ocean survival, parachuting, terrorist hostage situation, POW, captivity, kidnappings, and I mean, this is everything that we're training. We're training them to be prepared and take the right action. But yet in my own life, it was just all over the place. I could tell everybody else what to do in survival, but to just live on this planet, in this community, with you, at ease, serving you, seeing you, helping you, being a part of you, I couldn't. Because everywhere I looked, I just saw me. What my needs were, what my problems were, what I wanted, I was consumed by me. And so going through the training, I mean, we had to do hideous things. The very first week of training, I remember we got out to the woods. There's probably about 4 or 5 feet of snow. We're snowshoeing, some people for the very first time in their life. And if you've never seen somebody snowshoe for the first time in their life with about an 80 to 100 pound pack on their back, it's worth watching. Some popcorn. The snowshoes are stuck in the snow. The pack has got them back. I've watched people with their pack buried over the top of your head where they fell down a hill going on the snowshoes. They just got going too fast, and then the next thing you know, they're pinned to a tree like this. And with 80 to 100 pounds on your back, it's pretty difficult. We had 17 people quit the first week. We had 53 people start training. And 17 people at the end of the first week just said, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I think I want to go into intelligence. Something that has a coffee holder, probably. And, I don't even have to have wheels on the chair. I can work up to that. But this survival stuff is not something I want to do. And at the end of training, 53 was whittled down to 23 6 months later. That graduated. And if you ask me where I was in the standing of the 23, I would say I was at the bottom. I wasn't the dumbest, but here's the weird thing. If you knew about my life in high school and all my teachers, I was kicked out. I went to Flathead High School. My senior year, I'm drunk on campus, get in a fight, break a guy's face up, and everything, because that's what we did. On lunch, we left campus, went to Foy's Lake, had a few beers, and then came back to school. What an idiot. You know, why would you go back to school? You're at Foy's Lake, just hanging out. Yes, do something. Don't bring your stupidness back to the school. See, but you guys weren't there to counsel me. I'm running on my power, right? Let's go back to school. Yeah, they'll be happy to see us. So 2 weeks from graduation, I'm kicked out. I'm kicked out, and I'm not graduating. Dad was pretty excited about that. He did not get up in front of the school board that week and go, I'm so proud of my son. He's just really done some great things here. And so I had to go back and take a college course. What's really crazy is I'm a high school teacher now. Come on. God doesn't have a sense of humor? Really? About 3 years ago, I snuck into Flathead High School. And the irony of all the times that I snuck out of that school, it was pretty easy to sneak into. I don't know. But I'm running around the planet, and I'm out of control. I'm drinking and drugging. If any young lady showed any interest in me at all, I took her hostage. You know, it's just like, it wasn't relationships. It was just, it was a mess. And if you try to tell me to do something, I don't know if I'm unique compared to the rest of you, but I had no respect for authority. Mom and Dad weren't there when I was growing up. They were all doing their own thing. And now, Dad enters my life at about 16, 17. And he had suggestions for directions in my life. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, you got God now. I'm so happy for you. It's just like, yeah, this isn't going to happen. So he would try to tell me, and I'm serious. He would tell me to do something, and I would do the complete opposite. Even though I know it was going to cause me bodily harm. Even though I know it was bad for me, it wasn't good, it's going to be miserable, there's probably going to be pain involved, but at least I'll be showing him who's boss, right? And like, we don't do that with God sometimes. We know what's best. We know what's going to take care of our heart. We know what's going to put our mind at peace. To walk through day in, day out with a restful mind and a peaceful heart and hands ready to serve.
Yes, good.
You know, that's not how I was rolling back then. So between the pastor, judges, or probation, and all the other things, I was living with the pastor at the time, and Jerome Jackson. About 4 years ago, right before I went to England, I stopped in his house and honored him. Such a good man, such a good heart. In watching the Jacksons, I saw what a family looked like. I saw what it should be like. I saw a wife that lifted up a husband that protected the wife. And you can say anything about anybody, but you talked about his wife. And that preacher was about to lay hands. You know, he just like, there was the love that he had for her was just palpable. And I watched one night when there was a Bible study going on in the house, and he said something wrong. Now, I don't know about you, but I grew up in a situation where being right was very important. It was important to be right. And in the military, it's important to have the answer and be the first one with the answer and be fast with it. Bam! Be on the spot. And I was brushing my teeth that night, and I gently heard her say, you know, when you were talking about that, didn't you mean Colossians? I said, oh, yes, honey. And I thought, man, that's a wife. That's a wife. She put him before her and being right, and that wasn't about it. So between Jerome looked at me and goes, you will not be living with us next year. So this helped out in my decision making, you know. You know, as you go through using up people in your life, either emotionally, financially, or whatever, as you begin to use them up, your resources start to dwindle, don't they? Little by little. And so that's kind of where I was. And they said, we could see that you resent authority and you have a tough time being told what to do. we'd like to recommend the military for you. I had no idea what I was getting into. I was high when I took the test. That's bad. And the recruiter's talking to me, and he goes, well, you qualify for everything. Yeah, all right. I like to fly jets. Well, there's some steps here, you know, and so I sign up, and anybody that's been in the military, you know, if you go open general, they're gonna put you in the worst job. It's like, you're gonna like scraping corrosion off of the planes. It's really, I mean, you just feel the spirit. Only 8 hours today. And so I got down to basic training. Well, first of all, even on the way to basic training, they told me what to do. And I don't know if you've picked it up yet in this talk. I don't like being told what to do. They're such idiots. Because, I mean, in a good, godly, Christian way, I'm thinking. But they put me in charge. There's 4 of us that are leaving from Butte, Montana, and we're going down to basic training. And they put me in charge, and they said, yeah, just get these guys down there. Okay. We stopped in Denver. I thought we should probably have a few drinks before basic training. I don't know if you drink or don't drink. It's a big part of my story. So we had 2 that were very responsible individuals. They said, that's a bad idea. We shouldn't do that. I'm in charge. We're having drinks. And so we missed our flight, you know, and so that's how we went, and they didn't appreciate that. And so this battle with alcohol replaced every relationship that should have been there. Alcohol replaced every relationship that I wanted. Alcohol never said no. Alcohol would immediately transport me from whatever my situation was to, oh, everything's fine now. And so this would continue. And so this is when I come in, 1980. Oh, 80 and a half is when I graduated. I was the only one in that class. So it must have been, let's see, I was class 8202. So this is September 81. And by July of 82, they had sent me to rehab. They had pumped my stomach at 0.37. And, you know, I guess that's a lot of drinking. I don't know, I wasn't an expert. And a few decades after that, I had done the research, and I found out that 0.40 could be fatal. It can kill you. But see, whenever I drank, there was no stop. There was no stop. The only reason you would stop is because we ran out, or we passed out. One of the out families happened there. And so, yeah, I woke up tied down on a hospital bed at 0.37. Years later, learning 0.40 could kill you. And at that time, I gave myself a pat on the back for the amazing self-restraint that I showed not to get to 0.40. Right on. And the whole time, I'm going through some of the hardest training in the world, you know, and my life is like that. I mean, I could stand up here. I won SEER Specialist for the year for the Air Force. For the entire Air Force, I was rated #1. I've won every award. I had 2 master's degrees. I could tell you everything that is so amazing about me. But what I should tell you is I broke my dad's key right before coming in here. I was trying to fix the toilet. You couldn't get it to lock, and so I was going to fix it. That's my power. That's what it really looks like. You know, if I told you everything that has ever been wonderful about me, you might pat me on the back. You might go, man, he's pretty vain. But it would never change your heart. It would never change your heart. Why? Because the verse would be different. I can do all things through Kevin's strength. That's what I went after. I went after the awards. I went after the degrees to say I was okay. My kids were a token to show you how wonderful I am as a human being. My kids are squared away. My truck is in perfect shape. I had the house that I'd always wanted to have. perfectly set up. I had a pool put into the house. I had everything that I ever envisioned that a person would want to have to be happy. Had it. I'd achieved it. I could walk onto the base of Beale Air Force Base and everybody knew my name. They knew that, well, that guy's a hard charger. Did he do some stupid things? Yeah, like the time that he took the track master up in the Arctic and with a couple of bottles of scotch, and we shot out somewhere towards the North Pole so we could watch the Aurora Borealis. Ooh. And we threw a track and we should have died. You know, we'll just jog back. Two guys stripped down to their underwear. They just, hey, can you see my legs? They did not select me to jog back for help. All right? My little squatty things will get there, but they wanted somebody that could actually run. We thought it was only a mile or two, 6 miles. It's 30 degrees below zero. You know, we could have died. You know, so they sent me to rehab and they talked to me, and I knew in 1982, I knew I was an alcoholic. I knew I was an absolute drunk. But what you would never, ever, ever get me to say is I can't take care of my business. Because if you can convince me of that, you've destroyed my ego. You've destroyed my ego. If you don't have a good definition of ego, just say edge God out. Because as long as your ego's there, there's no need for God. I got it. I can't have a dinner party at my house without it being messed up. Why would I think I could run a life? And so at some point you get to the end of you. If you ever ask me why I stopped drinking, last time I had a drink was on July 7th, 2002. My daughter's eyes. My daughter's eyes. Moms, dads, if you have a kid, if you have a nephew, if you have a cousin, the battle will be won on your knees. You'll never be able to tell them. You can't outthink the problem. I don't care if it's drugs, alcohol, women, finances, whatever, life. Pick your sin. I mean, I sit there and look at the 10 Commandments and go, done them all. Now some of you are like, ooh, maybe you shouldn't have shared that in public. A lot of them were just in my mind, but Christ was pretty clear about that. If you did it in your head, you did it. So her eyes told me this was not the way. I think I was almost willing to die an alcoholic. I think I was, okay, it's like, it's not good, but, there's worse things. I could be a Democrat. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I did that one for my dad. Oh man, I'm going to hear about that. Anyway, that's all right. I can just leave the continent. I think about a lot of things I say an hour later. And so you might be victim to that, so please don't take it out on the church or whatever. Anyway. Now I'm at where I have no idea what I was talking about. I'm out of power. I'm out of power. And I guess that's what I would say. When did you come to the end of you? And I don't care if you grew up in the church your entire life. You knew every verse, you read the Bible every year, you pay your tithes all the time. When did you come to the end of you? And I think one of the things that the church, and I did not want to go to church. That on July 7th at about 8 o'clock that night, I knelt in my living room and I said, God, I can't do this anymore. Changed my life. I've never had a drink since then. I just celebrated, 19 years being sober. But still, that means I wasn't drinking, but I was still running my life. I mean, there's still work to be done, and I am so incomplete. I am so incomplete, and it's just like, even sitting up here, it's kind of preposterous to me in my mind that I'm sitting here talking to you about anything about God when I know who I am. But I have to share who I am, so you'll walk out of here feeling, wow, I thought I was messed up. That was an uplifting spirit. That guy's totally crackers. You know, so maybe that's the upside of it all. I don't know. So I'm out of power. I look at my daughter's eyes and I know that I can't do what I'm doing anymore. And so I say the prayer. I start going to AA and I'm doing that type of things. My wife at the time was an alcoholic, and I remember when I celebrated a year's sobriety, I was like, yes, man, I did it. I did it and I feel good and I did it the right way. I didn't just quit drinking. I got involved with life. I mean, I started like seeing people differently. I wasn't quite ready to commit to a church, but you know, because when I go to church, you guys are all so good. You know, most of you have had a shower in the last month. You know, your clothes match. I mean, I had to borrow a nice shirt from my dad. And it's old behavior because he's not getting it back. I still steal. I don't know. But people in church just always seem good. Like you don't have problems.
Sure. Yeah.
You're not tempted.
No.
Nobody's touched lust. Nobody's ever touched the bottle. Nobody's ever done
No.
drugs.
No.
Nobody's ever gossiped. Nobody's ever. And we did. I remember in church, people would say it in a different way. You know, God has told me about you. You know, or something. They would dress it up and code it, but it was still gossip. And I was just like, and so my mindset was, I need to get well and then I'll go to church. It's like, I've had open heart surgery. I mean, did I cut my chest open first to save the doctor the time? No, I've knocked out the heavy work. You can hit it down. You know, it doesn't make sense, does it? Come broken.
Yes.
Come hurting.
That's right.
You know, and be transparent, be honest. Now, there's a lot of things that I'm not going to share today in a group like this. But if I was sitting with you one-on-one, I don't think there's anything about my life I wouldn't tell you. If I thought that it would help you with your walk with the Lord. It's the only thing that matters now, right? To return. To return to the Father. That's it. Outside of that, tell me, what's so important in your world? I broke my dad's car key today. And I was actually I'm almost 60 years old, and I'm still afraid to tell him. What is it about fathers? It's like, Dad, I need to brace yourself. I got some bad news. I broke your key. And when he looked at the key, I still love that I could do this to him. The bewilderment. Like, how did you do that? You know, it is the blessing between father and son. How? I don't even understand. So I end up getting divorced at 1 year, about 18 months into sobriety. And my 1 year chip, my kids hugged me. Everybody was so happy I was sober. Everybody at work that knew what a hard partier I was were shocked. The door would open and they would come in. Pilots, colonels would sit down and say, "How did you do it, Kevin?" I mean, this problem wasn't just afflicting me. There were guys that were flying planes that had to go in and have a few drinks in the morning before they got into that plane. That's real. That's the truth. You know, and the only thing, man, the secrets just keep us in that wall. So, at about 18 months, we got divorced. She just said, I remember when I got my little chip in AA, you get a chip, and now I do Celebrate Recovery. I don't know if you have that here, but you know, it combines the two things I love most in the world, sobriety and recovery, and my relationship with Jesus Christ. And I'd been asked for years to get involved with this, like, no, you Christians will mess up sobriety. Yeah, you'll just you'll code it up and it'll be, It's like, nah, it's not. And so I've had the chance to take that into prisons. I worked at a correctional facility with kids. I had 158 kids that were just so messed up, you know. Parents were not involved. I had everything from murder, attempted murder, armed robbery, to stealing a cell phone and not going to school, truancy. And they packed them all in together. That's Florida. You know, the guys were raping each other. It broke my heart to go into work. Broke my heart, the things that you hear and the things that you would say. But God bless me. You know, I would say 85% of the population was black, and I'm a short white kid from Montana. What do I have in common with these people? But you know what? When you walk in the name of the Lord and you walk in love, and I'm not looking at you thinking, what can I get from you today? Or how do I look in you? But just how can I bless you?
Yes.
I mean, I hope that I'm blessing you today. And if I'm not, I'll pay you afterwards. It's like, you gotta sit through that. You know, but God has taken the mess and made a message. You know, I can't share anything else, but this was what my experience was. And I'll never forget, at about 2.5 years sober, I thought, a buddy of mine at work that knew what a rebel was invited me to go to church. So for those of you that are going into work and you've got that one person, you know there's no way that this person would ever be a Christian. There's no way. There's no way. Ask them. Invite them.
Good.
Let God and the Holy Spirit sort it out. You just need your mouth. That's all you gotta do. And he invited me, and he didn't even go. I went by myself. And there's probably 4,000 people in this church. And I walked in and I sat up against the back wall. I mean, up in the bleachers. You could not get any farther away. Because I didn't want to get it on me. I don't know what that is, but I am pretty sure I didn't want to get it on me. And Lincoln Brewster, I don't know. Anybody listen to Lincoln Brewster? Strength as we wait upon the Lord. Yeah, that's one of his. But he was the worship leader. And he sat there. And before the end of the first song, I knew I was home. I really would much rather talk about beating and torturing people. It's much easier than talking about what's going on in your heart, isn't it? And that's what we do. We talk about the easy things. I do. I shouldn't put that on you. I apologize. But life started to change. And everything that caused me pain and caused me hurt and caused me fear and caused me to run as fast as I can and never show you who I really was. You know, the things that led me to be at the end of the driveway at Johnson Court, at the bottom of the driveway of the perfect house that I'd always wanted. And I stood at the end of that driveway looking around, seeing all that I had created and feeling so empty. So empty. There is nothing that will fill the God hole.
That's right.
Nothing.
That's right.
Except for God.
That's right.
He's reserved that place. And I hear people in meetings and different things, and I celebrate anybody on the search. And I don't care where you're at today. And I have to believe, my life says it's true, that one person in here needed to hear me today. It's a fact. Because I look back at everything. Dad sometimes feels bad about my childhood. Everything that happened in my childhood led me to right here. And if it gets me to heaven, then everything was worth it, wasn't it? But not only did it get me to heaven, but Christ takes all that mess, whatever that is, and he makes it a message, and then you walk around and you share that message. And in the beginning, I couldn't. It hurt too bad. I would just weep. You know, that's when God is on me, I just weep. And I hate that. But it's so good. But I hate it. You know, and it's just that way. All the things I thought I'd done in survival, going all over the planet. Ticks in places you shouldn't have ticks. You know, snakes coming around, scorpions, and just, I don't know. God takes all of that. I remember being in Germany when I became a teacher, and I'm stuck in a Stau, which is German for traffic jam. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm 40-something years old, and it's like, God, what do I do with my life? What do I do? And there's 4 times God has talked to me. 4 times God has talked to me. I've been prophesied over twice. Once in a church with Dad, And the only reason I went to church that night is he was going to take us out to eat afterwards. And Chunky Boy never missed a free meal, all right? And we'd been doing some substances that made us extra hungry. And the guy prophesied over me that night and talked to me about being in a lockup. I've spent so much time behind bars and behind constant sharing recovery, sharing the Lord with people now. And that's when I was, 17 years old, 18 years old, something like that. The other time that I was prophesied, it was just after I became a Christian and truly gave my heart to the Lord. And I was working with some kids, and it was at a Pentecostal men's retreat. That was different, you know. I wasn't quite ready for that. I'd been around Assemblies of God and that before, and the cool thing about moving every 3 or 4 years, I don't have a denomination. I go to Pentecostal, I'll go to this, that, whatever, the Nazarene Church in Okinawa. I don't care.
That's right.
God will set the table. And he's not going to ask me, Kevin, what denomination are you called to? It's like, anybody that's lost, right? Shoot, I just got lost. What was I talking about?
The time God spoke to you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I should have forgot that you guys do have responsibilities in this conversation. And that's one of them. Thank you. Well done. It's to keep me on track, right? But so I'm up at this men's retreat. It's a Pentecostal thing. And I'm the only one in their seat. Everybody else is praying and moving through, and God's doing, the guy that spoke that night, the evangelist, whatever, he's laying hands on people, and man, things are happening. You know things are happening. And I was like, ooh, things are happening. And I felt so safe in that scene. It was so good. It was my happy spot. It's right here. And the guy that was leading it, he looked up at me and he goes, hey, come on up. No, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm feeling it right here. I'm a minute or two from lifting the hand. You know, it's coming, all right? Be patient. Wait for it. Wait for it. And no, they said, no, we want to pray for you. It's like, oh, man. Now everybody's looking. Let's go get prayer. That'll be fun. So out of my seat and up I go, and the pastor and some of the kids that I'd just been teaching, everybody laid their hands on me. And what did I do? I wept. I swear I wept before the first syllable. I hate that. And I knew it in the seat that it was going to happen. It's like, no! I've got enough, Jesus. It's okay. And I wept and I wept and I wept. And then he said something really ridiculous. He goes, you're going to be overseas teaching kids. And I thought, maybe you haven't met me. I didn't have a flyer then, but I do now. I could have just showed him. I'm a United States Air Force survival instructor. All right? I beat people for a living. I am not going overseas to teach kids. I mean, this is all internal, because that's kind of rude when somebody's prophesying to just look them in the eye and say, no. Even though you might think it, you're going to be doing this for me. No. That seems excessive. And then the next thing you know, I'm in Germany. I'm stuck in that stow, if you didn't think I was going to get back there. Stuck in that stow. And I'm praying to God. I just opened up a $15 million aquatic center. And I'm working with special forces and people on water training. I have 60 lifeguards that are working for me. And I have a blast just feeding them. I mean, it's a calling. It's not for everybody, but I just have that knack for torturing people and helping them enjoy that. You know, it's a gift. And so they're going to move me over to this new mall that they're opening. I'm going to have a ski shop and bike shop and all these other things that I'm going to be running. And I don't want to do that. I want to keep teaching lifeguards. So I'm stuck in there. I have my master's in business. I'm going to be some business tycoon. Talk about a kid that lived with no plan. It's like playing Monopoly for 50 years and always trying to buy free parking, you know? It's like somebody should read the rules, all right? We have a rule book. I just chose not to read it. So I'm sitting there, I'm in my car, and God said to me, Kevin, spoke straight to my heart. He goes, if you could do anything in the world, what would you do? And I kid you not, what I said to God was, I would torture young people. He goes, well, you want to be a high school teacher then? I went in that day and gave my 2 weeks notice. I went and got my master's in education and became a high school teacher. I taught in Germany, I taught in Okinawa, and I taught in England. The prophecy came true. But wait, didn't you hear who I was? I was a survival instructor. I work with pilots. We do things. We go places. I got a job offer to go to work on the Galactica. You just saw where Colonel Masucci was the pilot of the Galactica that went up. He was my pilot. I taught him. He called me and told me, come to the Galactica, we got a job for you. Now, if you don't think that going and working on that would have appealed to my ego, you do not know how shallow I am. You have missed something in this conversation. I was like, yeah, the Galactica, we're going to space. Let's get it on. And they want me, the little guy from Montana. Now, I always joke with people, the parachute that we jump in the Air Force, the emergency parachute that they pack in the F-15, F-16, the C-130, it's a 28-foot round parachute. It's 28 feet around. And it puts you down at about 18 to 22 feet per second. So if you just go up one floor and jump outside and keep doing that, and do that for about 100 times. And I always joke with the kids, yeah, I used to be 6'4". Dad's tall, Mom's short. I never got, you should have seen him dance. Okay, I did it again. Where am I?
Galactica.
Oh, yeah, so he offered me the job to go to the Galactica. But God had said, be a teacher. Be a teacher, that's what your heart says. Be a teacher. But it's a Galactica. You ever pout with God? But it would be better this way, wouldn't it? I would have that experience to share with the children. I mean, we can walk that around all we want and dress it up, but it's what we want. I want what I want. You know, the last conversation you had today with a person before you came to church, was it about what you want or what they needed? And that's how simple the walk with God is to me now. It's who's ever in front of me now. There's things in my kids don't talk to me. They don't want to hear about God. They don't want to hear about my faith. They don't understand why Dad had to leave. Well, it's because I married somebody in the military and I have a wonderful relationship and a kind, loving woman that puts God first. She puts God first and then she takes care of herself. And she always makes me feel like I'm important when I'm in the room. That is so different than what, my first wife, we fought like cats and dogs, screamed, yelled, and then we got high, and then we screamed louder, then we did a different substance, and we got kind of calm. Then we did a different substance. I mean, that was our life. And after 6 months of absolutely living hell, she looked at me and she goes, when are we getting married? I said, let's go. It's like, yeah, we're so miserable. Let's make it official. And the one thing survival taught me is like to suck up pain. I did it for 20 years. And just the same on her. She sucked up my crap. You know, just now to have a wife. You know, I got to figure out a way to wind this up because now there's too many things coming to my mind. SEER training, I owe the Air Force. I've been with the military for 40 years. For 40 years I've been with the military, and I owe them everything. They gave me a framework and a structure and a discipline that I never had. But now it's time to branch off. I'm going to Wisconsin. And whatever the military taught me, and however God used that in the future, all I can tell you is that each day I renew my strength in the Lord. I do a couple of real simple prayers because I'm not very bright. I broke his key. I don't see things all the way through. And I just ask God to help me get out of the way of myself. You know, please don't. And if anybody found anything that I said offensive, please forgive me. I am. I am a simple sinner walking this planet, and all I'm trying to do is get to heaven. And for whatever reason, this man right here said, "Hey, would you mind speaking?" I'm like, okay. Dad says you're nice enough, but I immediately thought not very bright. But I just want to serve the Lord. I want to help people that are behind bars, whether real bars or bars that we just can't see, that are trapped by sin, by their own fears, that just need the freedom. And the only freedom that I've ever found is in the Word of God. And the accepting that Jesus Christ, and I still can't understand that Jesus Christ died for me. It wasn't that he died, it's that he rose. And that and Christ, with all that power, has selected me. I'll talk to him about it when I get there. So. And so I have no idea. I have no idea day to day what I'm going to do and where I'm going to be, but I do. I really I try to put him first, and I try to look. It's weird coming back to the States. People mean mug you here. I mean, people just, come on, what you got? And I was like, and I have not been around that for a long time. And I immediately, I go back to my pride and my fear, and I was like, yeah, let's battle. I was like, no, Lord, how can I be of service? Man, I don't know if you guys got anything out of that today, but I love the Lord, and I do the best that I can. I hope you heard a kid that was lost, a kid that was dying, a kid that was sad, that God pulled out of the yuck and uses. He actually uses me if I'm listening. The first thing I try to do is like, God, please use me today. Please use me today. I wouldn't have said this format, wouldn't have been my first choice. I'd rather meet you all one-on-one and share how much I love the Lord and what he's done for me. But if I had to do it this way today, then that's how it is. And so, God bless.